Hey, this is Kyler with Right and Direct. If you're new to gimbals, getting one set up with all the stuff you need to shoot your movie and then getting it properly balanced can be a little daunting at first. But the Ronin RS3 does it great. I'm going to show you how to set this rig up. And we've got a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera and a SmallRig cage with a heavy metal and glass lens, matte box, focus motor, battery, basically everything you need to shoot your film on a gimbal. So let's get to it. The RS3 comes with two camera plates. The RS2 did not come with a long one, so this is new to the picture. If you want to use the focus motor, you need to use this one, so that's what we're going to do. And there's a little quick release plate here that will mount on to the bottom of the cage. And you're going to mount the plate as far over as you can. So if we're looking at the bottom, so I'm going to face the camera towards me, okay? And so we would want it over here. We're going to put two screws in. Use these two. Not just, you could do one screw, but I hate that because it always comes loose. So I put two screws in. So I'm going to put it right there. And a small note to self. Don't put the handle on first because it makes putting this whole contraption on a little more difficult. I'm going to go ahead and do that. See you in a second. Mount on two screws. I'm going to stick it on the plate and lock it there. That'll be stable on the desk since we're not putting it on the gimbal quite yet. I want to get the battery mounted. So this is from SmallRig. Love it. Even has a USB-C. But it takes NP-F batteries and will allow you to charge your camera. And you just need this cable. Again, all this stuff is linked up below. So I put it on this side of the cage. And you got to put it parallel with the camera. Otherwise, you'll block your function buttons. And also, I put it this way, not this way, okay? Just keep it parallel after you mount it on because if it's crooked, that messes with the whole weight and balancing of this thing. Seven, 12, plug it into 12. There, all right. Next, since we're using a focus motor, we need this piece. And if you're not using a focus motor, skip this part, but that screws in right here. Well, actually, it can go in either side. Do it on this side. And another note to self, that would be easier done, probably in an earlier step, but either way works. And then, where is our, here it is. So this is a 12mm rod that goes right in there. Next, let's get the lens on. If you haven't used these anamorphic lenses from Sirui, however you say it, they're really nice. And it's amazing what we have access to now as indie filmmakers for an affordable price. Don't need any support rods for the lens. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get the focus motor on. So it's going to go like this on your 12mm rod. And it's going to go up. And if you turn that, you'll know it's tight enough if it moves. This is an add-on focus ring, by the way. I don't like, where are they? Here they are. So it comes with this, and you can strap this onto your lens to allow the focus motor, follow focus system to work with it. I like these. Custom made for the lenses, and I just leave them on there all the time. They work great. Okay, so before we put the camera on, we've got to get your gimbal in the right position. I didn't go over all this, but if you're completely new to this, this screws into the battery handle, and then the battery plugs into this, and this locks and releases the battery, okay? So with that, like that, we're going to unlock a couple of the access points. There are 3 on this gimbal, and the first one we're going to unlock is the roll axis, which is right here. And then we'll unlock the tilt. There, and now they're locked back, and this is how you want your gimbal to look for the next step. Okay, you'll see this has threading on the bottom, and so you don't just shove it on, you use this to move it on there because it has to do with the balancing system. So make sure this is unlocked. Oh, this part goes in the back. And so when you get to that part, don't shove it anymore. Use this to pull it back on, and you can lock it for now. Okay, we're getting somewhere. One thing to keep in mind, make sure you lock stuff down when you're not adjusting it. So after I put this on, I lock that. Make sure this is locked. It's easy to leave something unlocked and then you end up dumping your camera, and you don't want to do that. Now we could start balancing at this point, but there's no sense in doing that until we get this fully rigged up and how we want to use it. So I want to go ahead and put the matte box on and just get it all the way ready to shoot, and then we'll actually do the balancing. There are 3 access points that you want to balance to get this thing going. One is tilt, the other is called roll, which is the side to side, and then the pan, which I have unlocked right now, which is why it's moving around. So we're going to do them in that order, and I'm here to tell you that tilt is a challenge, okay? So let me just show you how to do it, and then I have some comments on it. So first of all, a word of warning, whenever you're unlocking any of these access points and you haven't balanced it yet, get ready for the camera to fall one way or another, and it'll fall hard and fast with all this weight on it. So make sure you hold your camera, and then here's the tilt access point right here. I'm going to unlock it. And then your camera is going to want to fall probably forward because of all this heavy stuff on it. So the first thing I want you to do is unlock this like that, and then use this to just get it generally balanced so it's not going crazy on you, and then lock it back. Okay. So if it does that, you can lock it, and then we're going to do the next step. And this is the hard part. You're going to tip it upside down, and when you let it go, it's going to go one way or the other. Okay. And you're going to fix that by adjusting this measurement right here. Whatever rig you have, it's going to sometimes seem impossible when you're trying to balance the tilt, but it is possible. So what you have to do, you have to get this balanced so that it stays, and then you have to bring it back here and then see if this is in balance. And if that's not in balance, then you need to start tweaking between the two, and it takes a lot of finessing, but you can dial it in. And then it'll stay at different angles. Well, that needs a little more tweaking, but it should stay at different, like 45-degree angles if you position it, and that means it's good, right? Okay, so that's pretty close to being balanced. Now the thing is, if I took that off, the matte box, it'd totally throw the balance off. If I change lenses, totally throws the balance off. So what I would do, if I were you, is get used to certain settings here and here, and then keep notes because it could save your sanity. And then another note, if it's going forward, so if you do this and it's falling forward, that means you need to be at a lower number. And if it's falling back, that means you need to be at a higher number, okay? And then what was the other thing? Oh, DJI comments on this, but they say when they have a video saying when you're adjusting it, you want to support the camera. So like hold this up when you're screwing down and stuff to not put pressure on your gimbal. And also I found that it's a little easier to adjust this when I'm not just like letting all the pressure right on the gimbal. It's harder to adjust and you might mess something up. So try to take that pressure off when you're doing your minor adjustments. You could even just take the thing off and adjust it that way, whatever works for you. So that's number one. So once we've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and lock it back. These locks, again, so much nicer than the RS2. And then next we're going to do the roll. So the roll's right here. And again, this one's pretty close to being balanced, but the initial balance is going to, see that's leaning, it's leaning to the left. So what we're going to do is unlock this, and then I'm going to move it. If it's leaning that way, I'm moving it the opposite way. So just a little bit, again, goes a long way. See, I just did a touch and now it's leaning the other way. So again, you get this. I'm not going to step you through it. But what you want to be able to do, it's not balanced yet, but what you want to do is get it perfect, and then you should be able to like lean it in certain directions and have it kind of stay, you know? I don't know if it's going to stay perfectly with all of this weight on it. You might have to really work with it to do that. But let me just say this. I just got done shooting a 30-minute short film with the RS2, and I didn't have the balance all perfectly dialed in all the time. And guess what? It works. So it is going to work the motors a little bit more. And there are some shots it won't like, some really like steep angles and stuff. So you do have to have it dialed in for some shots. But if you're just doing a simple tracking, push in, pull out, dolly type move, if you're slightly off on a balance point, it's gonna work, and it'll tell you if it's out of balance. It alerts you to that. So you get this. Let me get this dialed in. I'll be right back. And next we're going to do the pan. So the pan, again, the camera will whip away from you if you're not ready for this. So I'm going to go ahead. Here's the pan lock. So when you lock these, they'll still move if they're not at a lock point. So like if I lock it here, it's going to move a little bit further before it locks. That applies to all of them. Yeah. So I'm going to lean this forward, and then I'm going to unlock it and see which way it goes. Or move it parallel to me and then see which way it goes. So you can see the lens, it's going slightly forward. Yours won't be this dialed in again because I already have. If it's going lens direction forward, you need to move this back. If it goes this way, you need to bring it forward. So what I'm going to do, and you can also like do this over your knee or something, but loosen that. So then once you get the pan balanced, you can unlock all the access points, and then power up the gimbal with everything unlocked. Don't have them locked when you power it up or it'll gripe at you, and I'm not even sure that that's great for it. And then you can calibrate it. You need to calibrate it before you use the gimbal. So there's a little calibration option from the main menu here. If you haven't used your RS3 yet, it is going to ask you to do some things like download an app to your smartphone, connect to the gimbal with your phone, stuff like that. But once you're beyond all that, just from the top left of the main menu, you can calibrate it, and it'll make some funky noises. But then once it's done with that, it'll say it's good, and then you're good. So I hope this is helpful. Just remember, when you're on set, you don't have to have perfect balance. If you're doing pedestal, tracking, dolly shots, it'll do that all day long. I did it with my RS2 on my last film, Reckoning. It was fine. Complicated shots, different story. And then also, something I forgot to do is hook up the Focus Motor. So there's plugs here, plugs over here. Not going to go into that now, but just know you do have to use cables to control this thing. And that's going to change the weight a little bit. So if you already balanced it and you've got to add cables and redo some stuff, I apologize. But just know that. And this is one reason as well that I like using CF cards, less cables, less weight to balance. And then also it keeps my USB-C port open for other things that I need it to do. So if you have any questions, of course, post in the comments. If you're using the gimbal on anything, we'd love to hear about that. We indie filmmakers have to support each other. And then if you're not a filmmaker and that interests you, I highly recommend you check out rightdirect.co. What is it? Quickly, it's start to finish cohesive training on how to be a writer and director. We begin with story, and then I teach you everything else. Because here's the thing. I did the normal path. I went to film school in Los Angeles, and I've learned some things the hard way. Because when you graduate from film school as a writer and director, your very next step in your career is to, in fact, write and direct movies. But nobody's going to hire you out of film school. So you have to fund those films. And if you've already spent all of your money on your education, you don't have the money to buy the gear you need, or to pay rent, or to eat. And this all can delay you big time. So a goal that I have with Write and Direct is to teach you what you need to know, teach you things that took me years to learn after film school, and then do it for much less so that you can start your career faster. So check out rightdirect.co if that interests you. I hope to see you there. And this is Kyler Boudreau signing off.